Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of mobile app development. So today we are having Kotlin crash course. So Kotlin is our go-to language when coding our mobile apps. So Kotlin comes from Google and it's well supported by Android device right now, and there are a lot of crazy things that people are doing with Kotlin out there, and I believe that this in this course you'll be learning 2 or 3 things that can get you up and running with Kotlin. So in order to create a Kotlin file, what you need to do is to go to the folder that you want to create, so you can actually arrange the folders the way you want. But in this case, we'll go to the Kotlin folder, right click it and go to new and create a Kotlin class or file. So we want a file in Kotlin. We have went to object oriented, so we can just write main and go to file, place enter, and here you go, you have an empty folder, an empty file of Kotlin. So Kotlin is a very simple language that you can actually use to write your Kotlin code. It's a very simple language in order to write mobile apps. So every Kotlin file lands in the main function. So you need to have a function called main. So in this function, in order to write the function, we just write main, fun as a keyword for function, main as a keyword, and curly brackets just like this. So anything that you want to learn in your file, you put it in main. Maybe you want to learn a function, you put it in the main function. So we can print out something, for example, using the println feature, and print, for example, a string. So a string, for example, a string, maybe hello, hello world, welcome to IdealabMw, Kotlin, IdealabMw, Kotlin course. If I do this, in order to learn the function, you can see there is a play button here. I can just click that play button and go to learn mkt. That means the file. It's going to build, take a little bit of time, then build the file in order to output it. So it takes a little bit of time depending on the system that you have. So in my case, it's done. I can print a lot of things that I want. For example, maybe print ln. So print ln means print line. So I can say my name is Alinafe. They play the play button and off you go. You can actually see the compilation is faster depending on the system that you're working into. So the short form of learning your program is Ctrl+Shift plus F10. So however, maybe we want to get information from the user. Let us write commenting in Kotlin is 2 forward slashes. So maybe we want to take input from the user. What we need to do is to prompt. For example, we need to prompt the user. For example, we need to tell the user what to enter. So we can just put the words, maybe to instruct the user, enter your name, and let's in here print. So print line means it will print in a line and then shift it or escape to another line, but print actually print in the same line. So we can take advantage of that and put a colon so that we can actually prompt the user to light something. So in order to prompt the user to light something here, what we can do is to use a certain function to prompt the user to light something else. So Kotlin has got a way to light variables. So in such case, the keyword to light variable is var. So we can put here my name. We'll take a look into that later on. My name is equal to a function which Kotlin use to lead things from the user. So it's called lead line. So this lead line function, it gives the user ability to put in his information. So if we want to print here the value that the user has put in here, what we can actually say is called my name is, in order to put the value from the user, put a $sign and the variable name. So it's called my name here. So you can practice on 2 or 3 things. So you can practice a lot on this issue in order to put to play around with these functions as well. So I can put maybe enter your age underscore here, not underscore but colon, and put var my age is equal to lead line, and here print out my age is $sign. I don't put quotes to show that that's a string. My age is $sign my age, and off you go. So if I actually run this file, let us check in the terminal. You can see that it's prompting me to write my name, so I can write Alinafe and press enter, and you can see that my name is Alinafe, my age may be 15, press enter, and I'll be able to get the output that my age is 15. So that's how you can play around with strings in Python, or to get information from the user. So let us comment this out and put in other things that we want to learn. We do need to have, for example, to learn a little bit of variables in Python. So variables in Python, there are 2 ways that you can write variables in Python. The first way is to use var. So we can have var my phone number is, so my phone number, my phone underscore my phone number is equal to, you can put any number that you want. So you can place here and put any number that you want. And however, if we put another type of variable here called var, and say for example my address underscore address, maybe we'll put this number. There are 2 different variable types. So the first one, called var variable, is mutable. It means you can change the value here. The var variable means it's immutable. You can't change. It's like a constant. So for example, if we say here my phone number is equal to this number here, it's able to accept that. But if we say my address, and if we say is equal to this number, you can see there's a lead line here. If we hover into that line, we can see that is var cannot be reassigned. So integer J idea is intelligent. It can prompt you to change to var, but we don't want that since because we're just learning how we can put we can actually identify these variables. So that's how you can do it in Kotlin. So it's important to put var if you don't want to change that value, or put var if you want to change it. So take that in mind. And we also need to know how we can work with var in null points. So variable in null points. So let us comment that code out. So first of all, if we want to go to null points, so null points are some other times maybe you want to get information from the user, but the user didn't put it. So you can put space maybe space element in database, but you want to explicitly say that that is null. So in order to actually learn about that, let us learn a little bit on assigning or explicitly say the type of element that you're expecting on a variable. So for example, if we put here var name, and maybe a name, maybe let me say his name, so it makes sense. His name is equal to not his name is equal to, but colon a string here. So that's how we light it in Kotlin, to make sure that the element that, or the value that we're expecting to that variable should be a string. So you can just light here hi. All right. Okay, if you see this if you see this variable called hi name, you can see that if I assign it to 2, there is an error here. There is an error, and you can see that it's saying change type of hi name to integer in order to write 2 here, because 2 is an integer. So we can just revert back to hi, and so forth. So if we also want to explicitly make a variable to accept integers, you can say maybe, let's say, a variable called the age, and the age colon light int. Make sure that the int word starts with a capital letter, and it's going to maybe 23, and you can see that it has no errors. If we put an integer here, you can see there is an error, the red line here. So in order to remove that, you need to make sure that you have placed an integer. So there are some other times that you are working maybe in your application, and you have a form that the users can actually put in data, but some other times they did not put in the data. How can you make sure that that data you have stored it correctly? So maybe you are looking for a father name. So I'm lighting it in camel casing, father name. Maybe that father name, it's obviously a string, and you want to make sure that if they did not put that name inside the, for example, inside that form, that maybe they don't have a father, what can you do? You need to put a question mark here. Once you put a question mark, you can assign this father name to null. So meaning to say, if they did not put in a question mark, they not a question mark. If they did not put in the name, the value of the father name variable, the father name variable is going to be a string. So if we print the father name variable here, so print ln maybe father name variable, and learn this function, so we can learn it over here as well. So if we learn this function, you can appreciate that the father name is going to be now. So you can see that the father name is now. So let us actually comment this. The father name is now, and we can assign the father name with a word as we go along. Maybe you want to assign with a word, it works that way, because remember, this is a var. So now it means there is nothing. So the database is able to actually get the data type as now. And you can also reassign the variable and maybe to a name called dad. And if we put here, if we place in here the father name again, you can see that the father name is now dad. So you can appreciate that we do have the first one is which is nar, the second one which is dad. So nar is a keyword that if you haven't put anything, you can actually place in the father name. But however, there is something else that we need to know in Kotlin, but by converting the data. So converting data, the readLine function, which is taking information from the user, is taking a string. So it only takes a string. So you want to convert that string to an integer, for example. So you explicitly make sure that you are taking in that integer. So for example, if we say var my money, for example, if we say so and put in here as an int, so it means we want to accept an int from this option, from this prompt to read from the user. If we say read line here, you can see that we do have an error. What is that error? You can see that type mismatch, meaning to say it requires an integer, but it has found a string. So in order to fix that, we put 2 exclamation marks and a dot, and you press in to int. So you press in to int, and by that you have fixed it, and every value there that you put as a number is going to be converted to an int. So you can try this with anything except the strings, because basically strings are actually integers. Strings of basically the readline function actually accept the string. Other ways you can do this, you can just say var maybe the cost is equal to, or maybe because it accepts, the readline function accepts a string, and just write to string is equal to readline. So readline function, because it accepts a string, so we do have here the readline, so it's accepting a string. The reason why it's showing an error here, because it hasn't been initialized yet. So it accepts a string, and if we go here and say the cost to int dot to int, in this way the number that you have taken here, so this is not like an error here, because it actually gets the value in execution. So it requires a string and found a string, which we know that we are in the right track. You can convert it to string here using the function. You can see it's the same thing. It has got a exclamation mark here, being reason that if you put in the cost, if you put in the cost, then you can actually if you put in the question mark, you can actually take in null values as well. So in this place, it's prompting us that we can actually surround with narrow check, so meaning to say it actually has got an if statement. If it's not equal to now, I have to convert it to like this. So this is an if statement that we can actually check, but this is a good point that we need to put in place when we are writing our code into protection. But however, we are not going to focus on that. This code is going to work fine, just fine. We'll see if statements as we go along. So let us comment this statement and continue with other let us continue with other areas which we can learn. So speaking of if statements, we do need to learn about conditional statements. So conditional statements are if statements. So in order to write if statements in Python, it's very easy. We can have a counter, or not a counter, but we can have a value that we want to check. So we can just say checking is equal to maybe 9 by that. So if we say if open brackets and closing brackets, so if you're checking is equal to 9, just like that, you need to write a block of code. So you can just say print the message that you want. The value is 9. Or you can say if you want to check another value, you can say else if checking is equal to 10. Put open brackets, curly brackets, and then you can say print is equal to the value is 10, or else print the value is you can write any value, maybe is not known, just like that. So you put it like this. So this is going to work. If we compare this, you can see it will tell us that the value is 9. So if we change this one to 10, then compare it, you can see that the value is going to be 10 here. Why? Because an if statement actually checks if the condition is true. So if it's checking if this one checking in this place is equal to 9, check also is equal to 10, it does that. The else statement at the end takes in the default if none of the statements are true. So let us comment that one and go to this next code. So there is a very important conditional statements in Kotlin. We call them when statements. So these are very good and very important. So we call them when statements. So when statements acts like if statements, but they are very used in different programs, and I think most programmers, they do use that. They start with when. So maybe we want to put the checking as well, we can just highlight it here. So when checking, so you only put the variable name and curly brackets and put the value. So you can say 9 an arrow, then put a block of code here. So what it means, when checking is equal to 9, learn this code. So you can print this code. We can print a statement that you want. So for example, you can say the value or the number is 9. And after you do that, or here to make it more interesting, you can just place in the value. So you can just say checking. So what it means, it will actually check the value that you have placed in here. So to make it more interesting, so you can actually go to the next line and say maybe 10. So you are checking different values. So this is a flexible way of writing conditional statements in Kotlin. You can just say here the number is, you put the $sign here in order to get access to the variable. And if you are done, you can put multiple statements. If you are done, you can put the default statement here and write the code that you want. So you can just say print the number is not known. Just like that. If we learn this code, remember our checking is 10. So if we learn this code, so you can see that the number is 10 and is able to get the value from that statement. So let us learn functions in Kotlin. So a function, it is a component or a method in Kotlin where you can create a specific operation that you need to reuse in your code. So in this case, you can create a specific operation, maybe to count numbers or to print something that you can reuse in your code. So it's very important that we learn these functions and so that they can bring in extra features to write in our Kotlin code. So for example, if I can actually put a function create a function in Kotlin code, my own function, I can just write fun for function, then print. Maybe I want to print my name, so I can just say print my name, open brackets and close brackets, then put in the function that I am looking forward to, put in the code block that I want to write. So I can just say print, maybe my name is Alinafe. So once I have done this, I can just go here and call the function. So if I just write like this and click run, it's compiling right now. So if I can just click run, check the terminal, there is nothing in it. So there is nothing running here that requires the terminal. So we do have a terminal for MKT. I just need to create another terminal for we need to create a terminal for working with functions. So let me save here and go to current file, then run. So if I learn the current file that I'm working with, so this is working with functions, you can see nothing here is displayed. But if I want to display that code, I need to invoke the function. So to invoke the function or calling the function, I'll just need to write print my name. So print my name. I'll write the function in the main function. So remember, the main function, it's where we want to print. It's where we actually, it's a function that always lands when you execute your code. So in this case, if I press the run option button, you can see that I have called the function. So I've invoked the function inside Kotlin language. So there are other types of functions that are relevant in this case. So we do have the first type of function. So the first type of function is the function that only has got a specific feature. So you don't add arguments or whatnot. So you can have maybe a function, maybe adding add two numbers. Add two numbers. So this function, right. So this function will only add two numbers, but these numbers, they are actually explicitly defined in this section. So if we say number 1 is equal to maybe 5, and the var number 2, so var number 2 may be 7, and in this case we can actually have total is equal to the summation of number 1 and plus number 2. Then we can just print the total and click save. So this function actually just add these dummy values. Then I can just invoke the function here, add two numbers, land the file, and check the terminal. So if you check the terminal here, you can see that I do have the output as 12. So I've added 5 and 7, and the output is 12. So these first iteration of functions, we call them first type of functions. So let us go to second type of functions. So second type of functions, so second type of functions are functions that actually have got arguments in them. So these functions actually have got arguments that you need to put inside. So for example, if I can put a function, maybe add my name function. So inside the string, I can put the name as an argument. So I can put here name as an argument, but you need to explicitly mention the data type of that argument, which is a string. Then create the block. So I can just print, for example, here, put strings here. My name is $name. If I do like this, let me comment this section and comment these function that I've invoked here. So I can just write here add my name. You can see that there is an error here because it is requiring an argument name, which is a string. So in this case, I can put an argument, like for example, Alinafe. So inside, you can see that IntelliJ IDEA is very intelligent to actually give the key of the argument that you are putting inside your function. So you can see name colon Alinafe. So that is very important to take note, and it's very easy to troubleshoot your code. So if I run this file, you know the obvious. The function is going to print my name is Alinafe. So you can see that it's requiring us to put arguments. I can put arguments. For example, if I need two numbers from the user, I can put number 1. So that number is going to be an int, and I'll put number 2. Number 2, it's going to be an int, and I'll put the code block inside curly brackets. You can just write var total is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Then print total. Or I can just write the summation is $sign total. So once I have done this, I can call the function here. So I can just say calculate, and here you can see that it's requiring two numbers, so I can put 6 comma 9. So once I've done that, I'll call the function here, and you can see that I have summation is 15. Let me put print ln so that I can have the information on the next line. Now I need to put print ln here as well. But the good part about functions is that you can reuse the code. So I can put here, for example, calculate maybe here 10 minus 5, 10 and 5. So learn the code. You can see I'll have different outputs. The number is 15, so there are 15s, all of them, but I can put maybe 1 so that we can differentiate. You can see, you can witness that we are having two answers but the same function. So that's second type of function, and let us see the third type of function in Kotlin. So the third type of function, it is a function that has got a return value. So let me just comment this out. So the third type of function is a function that has got a return value. So you make sure that you explicitly show the return value. So if I have, for example, a function called show name and put in curly brackets, you need to specifically say and specifically show that you are working with you are working with a return value which is called a string or an integer or a double. So in this case, we want to show name, which is a string. Put a colon and write string and put curly brackets. Inside the curly brackets, I'll write return a string called hi, my name is Alinafe. By this, I have explicitly said that this function is going to return a string. So I can call the function here, show name as before, and learn the function, and you can see that that function is returning a string. All right. Sorry, a return statement, it doesn't actually return something. When you actually put in a function, what you need to do is to lap this, to put this in a variable. So you put this in a variable, for example, you just say output, and print out the output. So print an output, and run this, and you'll be able to see that the return word is out there. So make sure you put that in mind, that when you are returning a third type of function, when you are invoking a third type of function which has got a return statement, make sure that you are putting that into a variable so that you can showcase your results. You can try this with an integer and so forth, but we want to learn a little bit of other areas in Kotlin. So let us take a look on the other functions, other components in Kotlin. So we do have arrays. So how do we write arrays in Kotlin? So let me put a function here, working with arrays. So in order to work with arrays, you need to put an argument inside that function. So we do have arguments, argument colon array, and the array is going to contain string. So this is a conversion of Kotlin. So the argument that is going to work inside the function is going to be array, but with strings. So that's how you write arrays. And if you want to declare arrays in your Kotlin, what you need to do is to write a var statement and put the names of the array, put an equal to sign, put array word, then make sure you explicitly say the type of array. So you can see the arrow symbol is used to determine which type of array in what data, what elements, what type of elements are inside that array. So we can explicitly say the number or the size of the array and the default value of the array. If nothing is inside the array, so we can put nothing as a default value of the array. This is very important. If there is nothing in the array, make sure you're putting the default value of the array. In this case, we can actually say names at point 0. So Kotlin is a zero language, meaning to say it's just counting at the 0. So the element that we want to put at 0, for example, we can put marketer, and you can put, for example, names from 1 at 1. You can put maybe admin, names at 2, at position 2. So position 2 is position 3 in real life. Maybe here engineer. So that's how you can actually put elements inside that array. If you want to access the elements, is as simple as using an index notation. So you can just say names and go here on 1, and you can access the name on the element on that position, on that index. So try it out on your own, execute and see the output. Another biggest thing in any Kotlin is called array list. So array list is important because it keeps lots of data, any amount of data. So we can just say var name list, for example. Name list is equal to array list. So keep that in mind, array list, and you put the data type. So data type is integer, and you can see that the array list has no parameter in this case inside the rounded brackets. Why? Because it accepts infinite number of values. In order to add values in elements in the array list, you need to put the name of the array list, then press dot add, and you can put the element that you want. So for example, you can put 1 here, and put in here 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in this case, you add things in the array list. So how can we iterate things in the array list when we want to display? We can use a for loop. So I will just show you a simple example of for loop, but you're going to learn the code on your own. So we can just have maybe a for loop for maybe for item. This is how we write for loop in name list. Then we print ln item. So in this case, what we are doing, we are looping everything here inside the list. So I have actually called and invoked the function here inside the main function, and you can see that the first part we have accessed the second element inside the names array, and we do have admin. The second part, we have iterated the elements inside the name list, that is the array list, using a for loop, and we have displayed it from 1 to 6. So that's how you can do it on your own. Or you can also add, maybe you can add data like names of dates and whatnot, and you iterate it as you go along. So let us also learn something here about loops. Loops in Kotlin. So loops in Kotlin are very simple. I can just declare an integer here so that we can check in how we can actually put loops. So first of all, I want to write a while loop. So while loop, it's like this. So if age, so I have actually initialized the age here to be 2. So I want to say age, maybe age, while age is less than 10, 19, or let me just put 10, I want to do something. So this is how you write while loop. You say while age is open bracket, age is less than 10, close bracket, and put curly bracket. So inside the curly bracket, you are going to put the block of code that you want to learn whilst that condition is true. So you can just say my age is, put the $, and put age here. So there is something that you need to do whilst you are iterating this while loop. You need to make sure that you break the while loop, because if it runs infinitely, it's going to break your system. So you need to put age plus plus, and in such case you are incrementing the age value in order to break the loop. So let us call and invoke this function. So this function says working with loops. So you can put it here, working with loops. And let me just comment this one and run here the current file. So check the terminal. You can see that my age is saying my age is starting from 2, 3, 4, 5 and iterating up to 9. So that's how you can write while loops. Another type of loop that we are going to learn in Kotlin is called for loop. So it's going to be for name. For example, we want to iterate in a certain range. You can just say name in 1, 2 dots, maybe to 20. I want to do something. So it's going to iterate from 1 up to 20 using the name. So I can just say print and just say step and put a $sign here, name, and let us run here. You can see that it's showing steps from 1 up to 20. So that's how you can write for loops. So anyway guys, this is all I had for you in the crash course of Kotlin crash course. Next time we're going to see how Kotlin is integrated in Android Studio and how we can start making mobile applications. So see you in the next class and have a good day.